All right. So awesome, awesome. Looks like we got another great turnout here today. Did anybody attend the webinar this morning? No? Yes. Okay. Awesome, awesome. Now most of you in here probably didn't attend it just because Debbie says no, still sleeping. Kind of jealous there, Debbie. Kind of jealous. I wish I was on your end over there sleeping. But as far as the webinar this morning, that was a Corel Draw Stone Wizard. So unless you had Corel Draw and the Stone Wizard, really not much help with that webinar for you guys. That's why we wanted to go ahead and create one as well for the Designer Edition. We have a lot of customers that start out or are you still using the Designer Edition software with the Silhouette Cameo. Bobby, will there be another testers webinar today? No, Bobby, we had one yesterday and we had one today. Those were the two testers webinar that we're going to create for the 2.14, and hopefully we'll have that released next week. So that is the game plan for the 2.14, the Wizard. Julie, yeah, unfortunately this is just a webinar just strictly on the Designer Edition software for those users of the Silhouette Cameo. So if if you use another software, if you use Corel Draw or any other software out there, you're more than welcome to stay and check it out and hang out and chit-chat with us. Or, not much use here for you guys as far as the designing part of it. Like I said, we're using the Designer Edition software for this webinar today. And now we are using the version 3, as you guys can tell. So this is the newest update for the Designer Edition software. All right. Awesome, awesome. Bobby, I hope your doctor appointment went well today. Julie says, okay, back to weeding. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, Julie. And we'll have some more webinars next week with Corel Draw. And we have a couple webinars set up for next week that should be pretty cool, very informative. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started here, guys. So, again, my name is Rudy. Matt did the webinar this morning. No problem at all, Julie. You have a good one. So today I'll be teaching this webinar on how to use the basic tools of the Designer Edition software so you can cut it out with your Silhouette Cameo. So, how many of you guys are currently working with the Silhouette Cameo? How many of you guys are actually cutting with the Silhouette Cameo? Okay, awesome, awesome. So it looks like most of you guys are, or are you guys are looking into getting it? Oh, perfect. There you go. Bobby said just purchase. Awesome, awesome. So now, are you guys already working with the Designer Edition software, or are you guys just currently working with the Silhouette Studio software? So the Designer Edition software is actually an upgrade that you have to purchase. Johanna, yeah, the sound should be working now. Let me know if you don't hear anything. Perfect. Okay, so it looks like everybody here is already working with the Designer Edition. Awesome. Okay, perfect. One more question. Now, what are you guys primarily working on right now? Are you guys doing a lot of rhinestones, vinyl, sign vinyl, rhinestones and vinyl? Both? Perfect. Okay, awesome. Car vinyl, perfect. Okay, so it looks like everybody's kind of already into the whole multimedia aspect of the business where you guys are taking advantage of using all the different media types, incorporating into one awesome looking design and then selling it, which is obviously the big thing right now is those multimedia designs where you're incorporating heat transfer vinyl and rhinestones and sign vinyl. So different medias out there you guys can work with, obviously to ultimately make more money off those designs and those finished products. So today I just want to go over some of the basic tools of the Designer Edition. Some of the most used tools when working with vinyl designs or rhinestone designs, as well as maybe show you a couple of different ways of incorporating both vinyl and rhinestones. So I think it's going to be a very good webinar. And again, this is more for the beginners starting out with the Designer Edition software. So again, let's go ahead and get started here, and let's see what we can do here. All right, guys. So first thing you guys notice is obviously you have your tabs up here. And you have your file, edit, view, silhouette, object, and help. These are all different features in the Silhouette Designer Edition that are just going to be helpful when creating those designs and sending the files to your cutter and also doing the registration marks. So here if you go to the Silhouette section, you have where it says Send to Silhouette. So once you've completed your design, this is going to allow you to send your design to your cutter. Again, this is a cutting software. So you're going to create your designs in here, and then it's going to allow you to cut directly from here into your Silhouette Cameo. You also have your cut settings here. So, and you'll notice with the Designer Edition, you'll notice that kind of duplicates the features So you'll notice what I see here in the silhouette. You also find right here at the on the right hand side of the designer edition as well. So the little cameo with the A coming out of it, that is your center silhouette, same feature that we saw right there in the silhouette. And you also have your cut settings here, which obviously is going to be used quite frequently when sending your design to your cutter. Very easy to use. So we have a couple different conditions here. So we have your standard, and the standard is very simple. So let's just say we went ahead and just drew a box out here. So we just drew a box and my standard, and if you go, let's just say we have our design here. So here I'm moving the edit nodes, but so you have your standard here, which is going to allow you to do the cut edge, perforate edge, and then the perforate cut line here. So it's going to just do a perimeter of the selected shape. So basically that's just once you have your design set up, it's going to just cut out the edge of that design. So nothing inside of the actual design is going to be cutting when using this feature right here. And then obviously down here you have your material type. So if you actually double click the material type, so if you go to whichever material type you want, and let's just say you want to do fabric. So it already has your settings in there already preset for that particular material. But of course, if you like to go ahead and change those, just use your arrow keys, your arrows right here, and that's going to change the speed. You can change the thickness, and also you can do a double cut or track enhancing here. And also you can change whichever blade you're using. You can let the Designer Edition software know what blade type you're using for this particular cut. So, and also you have your line segment overcut here, so you can do an overcut or you can turn it off. So you just simply hit your on or off. And as you can tell, you have your on. You can actually do the start and end, so you can actually customize that to whatever you're trying to accomplish with that particular design there. All right. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And then one that we've started to really use a lot recently is the advanced feature. I think this is one of the coolest things that is part of the version 3 update they came out with. Basically, it allows you to use so let's just say we have different layers here. So let's create a couple different layers. So we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and change the color to this one here. And we'll make that blue, and we'll make that red. So if I have my design here highlighted and I go to my cut setting, you'll notice now that those two layers are right there. So let's just say you want to just cut the blue layer. I'm going to deselect my red, and now what's only selected is my blue. So I know now the software knows that all that's going to be cutting right now is the blue. So if you're doing a multiple color design, vinyl design, this is the way you would separate it, where you can tell the cutter, hey, cut this layer first, and then once that layer is done, I'm going to deselect it, and I'm going to select my red layer, and now the software knows to cut that particular layer there. So that's how you would separate it, so you can go ahead and send it to your cutter and know which vinyl color you want to put in, depending on if it's going to be the blue or the red. So very easy, very quick to separate those, or excuse me, to get those colors separated to send to your cutter there. Just by the use of the layers here. And also you have your line color. So if you have a design that's not filled, so let's just say if I go ahead here and just create my box, notice how this doesn't have a fill. So if you just want those to stand out, then I would go to my line color, because all it's reading is just a line color here. So see that it's red, so now it recognizes that shape there, so now it knows to cut that outline of that design there. So very cool, very easy feature to work with, just to be able to go ahead and send your design over to your cutter. And of course, you got your layers over here, which we'll have one layer right now on our screen. All right. So again, the advanced is something that you're going to use quite frequently, especially if you're doing those multicolor designs. Also, if you're doing a rhinestone and vinyl design, it becomes very handy to be able to separate the stones from the vinyl as well. So you can go ahead and put your sticky flock in, cut that out, once that's done, weed it, put your vinyl in, and then you can go ahead and cut that out just by switching the layers. All right, so let's go ahead and move along here. And I do have some questions coming in here, and you guys feel free to ask as many questions as you want. Like I said, I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. The best part about these webinars is the interaction, that we can interact with each other here. So make sure you guys ask as many questions as you can. I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. All right, guys? Perfect. And Chuck, this will be recorded. I'm actually recording this. Usually with the webinars, we'll have them listed within 28 to 48 business days. So hopefully by Monday, we should have this webinar listed on our YouTube channel. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. So now that we've gone over the cut settings and sent to cutter, let's go ahead and actually work with our actual basic tools here. So first things first, we have our select tool up here. So this is just basically your arrow tool, and you can just kind of highlight your designs. And say you have, if you have a text here, you can go ahead and grab your select tool and actually highlight that design, and then that allows you to actually increase the size, decrease the size just by holding our squares here. So you can tell with our select tool, that allows you to just switch around the design, move around the design, however you like to work with that particular design. Here we have our edit points feature here, and that's very simple. All the edit is going to do for you guys, so let me get rid of this, and let's go ahead and get a box in here. So let's just say you go ahead and click my edit points here. Notice how now what it created was these 4 points here. And if I just grab one of the points and drag, so I'm just left clicking and dragging, you can see I can change the particular shape of the design by dragging that point. So same thing with this one here. So notice how I can change that. If you guys want to go ahead and change them inside here, I can go ahead and flip that design around. Just play around with it as much as you can to kind of flip it around and do what you need to do with that design to make it really look nice. Obviously, not the nicest design there, but that's how you would switch it around by using the points to be able to create a different shape or a different image or a different design just by using those edit points there. If you guys see some of the other webinars, the edit points is very similar to the nodes if you're working with Corel Draw or other softwares. Bobby, perfect question actually. Bobby wanted to know if you can open a CDR file or do you have to only use Silhouette. With the Designer Edition, you can actually open SVG files, Bobby. So if you purchase a design from us on the website, you'll notice that it comes with an EPS or CDR and SVG file types. CDR is basically, those file types are more for us to work with. The EPS is compatible with Corel Draw and most cutting softwares out there. SVG is specifically for the ones using the Designer Edition software. And the reason you would have to upgrade from the Silhouette Studio that the Silhouette Cameo comes with to the Designer Edition software is to be able to get those designs in there, those outside designs in there, so those SVG files in there. Whereas if you're using the Silhouette Designer, or excuse me, the Silhouette Studio, which is the free version that comes with the Silhouette Cameo, you can only bring in designs created from Silhouette. So you can go on their Silhouette website and purchase designs from them, but you cannot use other companies' designs. So that's why the Designer Edition, that's why you would purchase the Designer Edition, so you can go ahead and bring in those different file types, such as the SVG file types, which is obviously the ones that we offer with all of our download designs. And it's a good question you said that, Bobby. Let me show you here something. So let's go ahead and go to our file feature, or a tab up here at the top. So one thing you'll notice with this is you're actually going to open your file. So let's just say you have a file you want to bring in. I'm going to go to my Open tab, and then you can go ahead and bring in any file type. So here I have SVG file. So I'm going to go ahead and just double-click that, and you'll notice now that's going to come right in here. See that? So I can bring that file type in here. And again, that was the SVG. Bobby, unfortunately, that is the one downside of the Designer Edition software. It's only going to save the files in a Silhouette format, so you won't be able to bring it into any other software. So let's just say if you created a design in the Designer Edition and you wanted to bring it into your Corel Draw software, you wouldn't be able to do that. You can do it vice versa. You can create it in Corel Draw and bring it into your Designer Edition software. But unfortunately, the Designer Edition does not allow you to actually export the files into a SVG file format, which you would need to bring it into the Corel Draw or another cutting software. But very easy to bring a design in, as you guys can tell. Just go to your Open, click on your SVG file, and then you can go ahead and bring this in. And this is what you would see if, let's say, you purchase a design pre-made from the website already. This is exactly what you would see once you open the file. So this is, you got your two templates here. All you would do now is just ungroup it, and you would be able to go ahead and work with this design. So you see that you ungroup that design now, and now I'm able to work with each individual stone in here. It's the correct size, so this design would be ready to either edit, manipulate, or send to your cutter, either way. All right, guys. So are you guys already working? Are you guys already bringing in your own files? Are you guys already purchasing files or creating your own files with the Designer Edition? Okay, yeah, I see a lot of people of you guys are. Okay, a lot of you guys already. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So it looks like you guys already got that part kind of down packed. All right, cool. Awesome. All right. And another cool thing I want to show you guys before we move on here is the library tab. Did you guys know that the Silhouette Designer Edition already comes with pre-made designs in here? And so these are actually pre-made vector designs that Silhouette offers once you make the purchase of the Cameo. And if I go to my library here, so I just went to library and I went to my library here, and you'll see Bobby says she's trying to do a tiger logo. Okay, and I think Bobby might have, I'm not sure if we do or not, but we might have some vector images already created in there on the website, but I'm not too positive on that. But as you can tell, you get 50, I believe it's 51 or 50 designs that come with the software here. So as you can tell, you have all different ones. You have balloons, banner 2, you have baseball. So all you need to do is just double click on your design, and there it is. Bam. So it brings it right in. So you have a nice baseball created, and then you can go ahead and customize this. You can add some text to it. You can add some numbers to customize the that player's number on there. So this can either go for a baseball or a softball. So some cool designs in there for you guys to actually start working and being able to create designs already. And again, this is already a vector file, so this would be ready to send to your cutter if you guys needed to. All right, so now that we've gone over the edit points here, now we have our kind of our draw tools here, so our basic shape tools. So here's just a line drawing, so you can just create a line with this, a 2-point line, like so. It's a very, very simple tool there to use. We also have here's our rectangle tool here, so you can just, again, just hold left click, and you can create a nice little rectangle. You can create a box. So just create different shapes very quick here. And notice how when I actually create these boxes, it's coming out just the outline. In order to create that into a fill, we actually have a fill tool at the top here. So let's just open that window up, and you'll see here we have our basic options. You don't really need to get too crazy with the actual settings of the colors and choosing different colors here. That's more if you're using more of a print and cut style design. Whereas if you're just using a solid design, you don't need to go into the advanced options feature there. So all you need to do now to actually fill the design, let's just go to, now that we're in our fill color tab here, let's just go ahead and click on our color, and there you go, that's it. That's how easy it is to actually color the inside of that shape. So as you can tell, when you first create it, you do have to click on the actual lines here, because notice if I click on the inside, there's nothing there, so I can't really do much if I click on the inside until I actually click on the line. So once I click on the line, then I'm able to go ahead and change the color of that design. So you see that very quick, very easy to change around those colors. And that would be your fill option there. All right. And again, now we have our circle here. So again, same thing. Creates a circle, an oval for you. So you're just your basic tools there to create some different shapes. All right. So the next one we have here is here we have our polygon drawing. So polygon drawing here. And it's pretty cool because all I'm doing is just once I click, you'll notice that, and I'm only clicking once. I'm not holding my left click or anything. All I'm doing is creating one edit point here, and then that allows me to kind of move freely around the page. And then once I left click, then it creates another point. So you see that? So the polygon creator basically just creates those straight lines, and it creates points for you. Makes that editing or maybe tracing, if you're tracing more of a sharper design, this will work great if you're creating a star. This is something that you would use, is this polygon tool here. All right, so double click. So just double click it, and you notice that now this design is ready to go. And of course, if you wanted to fill the inside of this design, you would still need to connect the points here. So you just need to connect the endpoints in order to be able to color in that design. All right, so and again, I do see a lot of questions coming in here. I'm trying to answer as many as I can. I know I have Doc Brown on the other end also answering questions. So you guys make sure you feel free to answer as many questions as you guys, or excuse me, ask as many questions as you want, all right? All right, so now we have so this is more, so before, you notice that the polygon just gave you straight lines. The curve shape just gives you more rounded edges. So notice how now when I just single click, now it actually created a curve for me. And then if I hold my button, I can move it around. And I'm just left clicking and holding my left click option here. And you can just move around that shape wherever you need it to go. You see that? So the shape tool gives you more rounded edges, and the polygon tool here gives you more of the sharp edges. Again, that would be more for if you're creating a star or a polygon. That's what you would use that draw polygon tool for. All right. Also, we have down here, we have our freehand tools, and also we have our draw smooth freehand tool. So freehand tool is basically going to be kind of rough edged here. You can kind of go around the page and draw. You know, it's almost like using your pencil tool and draw and paint. And then obviously your right here your draw. So this is your draw smooth freehand, and the draw freehand smooth tool. Notice if when I draw it, it actually creates a straight line for me. So it creates a smooth line rather than the freehand tool, where it actually gives you some, kind of lets you go freely and draw whatever you want on the screen. The smooth tool basically creates that straight line for you. So you draw, just say you want to do like an R. See, that kind of creates a shape for you as you're going, and it makes it very smooth. So very cool tool there if you want to create some cool, straight, smooth lines to be able to maybe stone those out or create, maybe layers between different designs. Whatever you're trying to do there, that smooth tool will be very useful for you. All right. Next tools we have is here we have our arc tool. So again, just go ahead and here and notice how you can just draw an arc. You can draw a circle and it gives you the degrees right here. So very cool for all you trig majors there. Trigonometry was not my favorite subject there. So this would be more a tool for you guys there. And again, you can just increase the size of it, decrease the size of it. That lets you kind of freely edit that design to whatever shape you need it to be. Oh, actually, and let's just go back real quick there. So one last thing, again, you got even when you're done clicking on it, if you just edit, if you grab the circle here, your edit point, you can actually increase the size of that again. So just because you clicked off of it doesn't mean that the design is gone and you can't edit anymore. You can still edit that particular design there once you click on it again, once you highlight that design. To create the rhinestone designs on the lines we create, is that on the designer options too? Yeah, Bobby, and actually that's a great question. I'm just going through all the simple basic tools here. I'm sure you guys already know most of these tools here, so I'm going through them real quick. But I do want to create a couple designs here using, just doing a vinyl design, maybe a two-color vinyl design. I also want to show you guys how to trace the design and also how to add stones to a vector image as well. So like I said, we do have a couple cool things that we got ahead of us here. I just want to go over the basic tools on the left-hand side here, just for those that don't know any of these tools. All right. So the next one we have is our text tool. Text tool is very useful. Obviously, you're going to be using that quite often in the Designer Edition software. So it just lets you go in and type out, if you want to type out TRW. And again, I'm going to go back to my select tool at the top. And if you click away from it and just single click on the text, then I'm able to go ahead and adjust the size of that particular text. So just single click, or if you double click, it actually gives you the ability to retype the word. So you can type out Rudy or delete and TRW. So it kind of allows you to edit that text before you release a compound. And obviously here you have all your different text styles. So you have your font style here, so you can actually, pretty cool little search box up here. So if you can just type in, let's just say you want to do a brush script, just type in brush, and there's all your brush script here. Perfect. Got to highlight my design. I'm going to hit my brush script here. And then just double click, and there it is. So there's my design in brush script. And this is one of the reasons why I like to use the Designer Edition when I create my text in an outline form, because I'm able to see the actual text and how it's flowing. So I can tell right here. So let me zoom in. So I can tell right here that, notice how these are still touching here. So that tells me I have to weld this design. So it makes it cleaner, because if I go to try to cut this right now, you'll notice that the finished product is not going to be nearly as clean as you want it to be because of these little areas right here that are overlapping. So that's how I know I need to weld. That's why I like to use just the outlines when I'm actually creating my designs, so I can see if there's any tricks or any extra pieces in there that I need to take out that don't belong, or that's going to make the design not come out correctly. So that's why I always want to do that's why I always like to do the outline feature when using my fonts and creating my designs. You also have your align system here, so you can align left, you can align center, full, right, pretty basic features there. Also, you can align it horizontally or vertically, and you can also change this text size over here. So we can change different text sizes, so you can see, or you can do by point, or you can do by inches. So it gives you the ability to do by points or inches here, and also, depending on what size of the customer wants that design, you can either change the size here, or again, you can just drag your square in the corners. You can expand it here. So different things you can do to make that text look really cool and more to what your customer is looking for. And here we have our character spacing. So let's actually get rid of this one because this is more of a script font. So let's go and just use our normal font here. And if I go to my character spacing, notice how it actually separates the letters apart and brings it back in. So that's actually going to separate them or get them closer together there. And then the line spacing, obviously, same thing. It's going to increase the line spacing or decrease the line spacing between if you have two different fonts here, or two different words that you're trying to separate. All right, so the text tool. Does anybody have any questions on the text tool there? I know I went through it kind of quick, but I do want to show you some other things in this webinar as well. So the text tool is very useful. Again, you're going to probably use this. It's probably going to be the most used tool other than obviously your Rhinestone and your center cutter and cut setting tools here. Just because there's so much you can do with customizing, especially if you're adding a name to the back of the shirt or a number where you can easily do a custom name and number in vinyl, send it to your cutter, and now you're able to upcharge that shirt an extra $5, $10 based on the extra customization factor you added onto it. All right, so moving along here, so let's go ahead and get rid of this design. All right, so now we have all our different options at the top here, and now before I move on, does anybody have any questions on the zoom in, zoom out? I know this could be a little tricky. I don't know if you guys seen other softwares, but with the Designer Edition, it's basically a one click. So you one click it, and it's gonna minimize it, or excuse me, zoom out. Or if you do a one click for the zoom in, you got your hand tool here. So this one, if you click on it, it actually allows you to kind of drag the page. So I'm left clicking on the workspace here, and it allows me to move my page around. So very simple, very easy to work with here. Also, you have your right here. It's kind of like a drag. Like it's gonna say you selected the design. Let me show you here. So I'm gonna select my design here. We'll go ahead and color it. So we have our red rectangle here, and let me zoom out some so you guys can see exactly what it does. So if I select my design, I'm gonna go back to my select tool here, and I'm gonna go here, and basically it's just a magnifying glass, and if I go over my design, it just zooms in right on that design where I needed to zoom in. So wherever I click, it's going to zoom into that position. So kind of cool little feature there, just to, if you have to fix a couple stones, or if you have to fix an edit point, that's what you would use. It directs you right to the area you need to go to. We also have down here, or excuse me, up here we have our zoom in and out feature, which is basically by using our mouse, which if I left click, and so let's click on that, and if I left click and move my mouse down, it zooms. Notice how it's zooming in, and if I move the mouse up, it's actually zooming out. So I'm doing is left clicking and moving my mouse up to zoom out, or down to zoom in. See that? So pretty cool. Again, the zoom options, a little tricky to work with if you've never worked with Designer Edition, just because it's a one click, and you actually, you expect it to kind of keep zooming in until you stop holding onto the plus zoom in button here. But, it gets the job done. So not too bad there. All right, so Suzanne, no problem at all. And it's one of those things that Suzanne said that she did not know about the zoom in and out, but it's one of those things that you kind of, you see ways, you've worked with other software, so you're like, oh, I wonder if this does this and this does that. And that's kind of how I learned, a lot of the tools in here is just basically seeing, oh, I know I can do this in Corel. Can I do this in Silhouette Designer Edition? So you find different cool features and tools to help you through the process, as well as some other softwares do as well. But that's one way to actually be able to work with those, especially with Rhinestones. If you guys ever try to work with Rhinestones without a mouse, it's kind of painful, especially if you're working with a Corel Draw where you can zoom in and out with your mouse, because those circles are small. So you have to really zoom in to make sure they're not touching or they're not overlapping. So that zoom feature there is going to be very useful. It's going to make things a lot quicker for you guys, especially this one right here, the one that you can just click on the object and zoom right in for you. Very useful tool there. All right, so again, we went over the fill color up here. This is just the fill color feature. We also have right here is the fill gradient. Obviously this is more, again, for those that are doing a print and cut, where it's actually printing design onto the vinyl, because this is when you're actually working with heat transfer vinyl. It's basically a silhouette. It's a one color or two color, three color. Not much you can do with these here when working with heat transfer vinyl. We also have our fill pattern here. Again, same thing. It's cool fat patterns. If you're creating, again, a print and cut design, perfect use for that is the fill patterns here. Again, the shadow, another cool feature. But again, it's more for if you're creating a design for, for showing off like a mock-up, or if you're creating a design for a print and cut again. Next is our sketch. Pretty cool. I mean, I like to just kind of go in here and just play around with these features, just because it's pretty cool what you can actually do with it. Not much use for it for what we're doing, so I don't want to go too much into it, but it's pretty cool. I mean, you can do a hat, you can do a diamond hatch here, scribble, some different designs. See that? And again, I mean, technically the charcoal you couldn't cut out, but if you do like a diamond hatch here, this would cut out. You also have your different borders here, so you can do the edge, scribble, so you can do different borders around your inside fill here. And then you can just release the sketch here, and then you can move it around. So very cool little feature there. Again, if you're doing different things, not particularly what we're working with, but a cool little feature there that Silhouette does offer if you're trying to do more, getting more into the crafting or creating different, different designs for crafting. I know the ornaments have become a big thing now. I don't know if you guys seen those on our crafting with Rhinestones page. Those floating ornaments are really big. So, like, say if you went ahead and wanted to create a design for inside the ornament where they're print and cut, perfect. Go ahead and create a cool looking design in here, and then you can go ahead and just drop it in that ornament, and you have a cool Christmas decoration or holiday decoration for for your Christmas tree there. All right, so moving on is our rhinestone feature. So this is the one obviously I wanted to get to, show you guys a little bit more about, just because it's a pretty cool feature in here. There's a lot you can do with the rhinestones in the Designer Edition software. So let's just go ahead and type out baseball. So watch how cool we can work with this rhinestone feature here. So we'll type out baseball here, and let's go ahead and go to you'll notice I like my brush script. So let me go ahead and double click here, highlight my design, and let's go ahead and go to brush. All right, so I have my brush script here, and again, I have these overlapping letters here, so I want to make sure first thing I do is, and also guys, if you guys notice, when I click on my design, it actually tells you the size of it here. So I know 2.8 is not going to work for me, because when I place my stones, it's just the stones are not going to look as well. They're going to be very close together. And obviously, a rhinestone design, you want it to be about 9.5 inches wide. We try to keep it below the 10 inches in width. So let's go ahead and change the size of our design here. So we'll make it, let's go ahead and zoom out. All right, so we'll go ahead and make this, let's go ahead and make it 9.7 is fine. All right, so next thing I want to do is actually weld this, so make sure that everything is flowing correctly and there's no hiccups like I see here. Obviously, these are touching, so that's not what we want. And also, you can tell right here in the L's, you can see it's overlapping there. So obviously not the type of design we want to work with right now. So let's go ahead and fix that. So I'm just going to right-click, and I am going to go ahead and do my weld right here. So right in the middle of the page, you see where it says weld. And bam, so there's your weld. Now everything's flowing nicely. Now this vector file will be ready to go. So now when I weld it, notice how it actually separates the B and the ace ball part of it. Basically, it's just created two different objects now. One way to fix that is, let's go ahead and group these together. So, and if you notice that if I'm going back, all I'm using is my Control Z as in zebra, and that's just undoing what I did. So that Control Z allows you to just redo the last thing you did. So it just goes right back to what your original shape was. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight my design here. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to hit Group. So now this is one object for me here. So now I can go ahead and create my outline so I can put the stones around this design. So I'm going to go up here to my Offset. So as you can tell, up here we have our Offset tool. So the Offset feature basically allows you to create a border around this. So it's going to create an offset. So with this, I can create an outline where I'm going to put the stones directly to. So let's go ahead and click my offset. And notice how I created this offset. But I notice inside of here, notice how there's these little objects and shapes in here that I don't really want to work with, because when I use my rhinestone feature in there, what's going to happen is that's going to get stoned out as well. And it's going to be very sloppy. So what we can do is get rid of those objects inside of that. And the way to do it, very simple. You can actually increase the size. Oh, let's go ahead and go back to my offset here. So let's go ahead and recreate that offset. So if I go to my distance here, watch what happens when I increase the distance. See that? So actually those objects inside of that are now gone. But I went too far. So you can actually use your arrows here, and you'll notice how they start kind of disappearing. And the actual outline becomes much, much cleaner. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. So that should work. And now notice here where I have my B and my A. Watch what happens when I click away from that. Bam, there it goes. So that actually welded it together for me. So now we have our outline. We have the baseball inside that we're going to use as vinyl. And let's actually go ahead and change the color of that so you guys can better see what I'm working with here. So you have your baseball, you have your outline there, and also you have right in here where we didn't want to work with a lot of those. Actually, didn't look like looks like we still got a couple in there, so we can actually make this a little bit bigger. So let's go ahead and do that here, so we know that we're going to be working with a lot more space in there, and the stones are going to go where we don't need them to go. So let's go back to my offset, and I'm going to go ahead and just create an offset again, and let's go ahead and increase the size of it just a tad bit here. So notice how these are all gone now in here, which is what I was looking for there. And it looks like I got one small one there and a couple here, but that'll be fine later on. I can move those out just by editing the points. So let's go ahead and create our rhinestone file. So let me go to my rhinestone feature up here, so my rhinestone window. And now what you'll notice is we have all of our different options. So we have our, let's go ahead and click on that again so you guys can see those. So we have our rhinestone effects. So we have our none, edge, linear, and radial fills here. So edge is going to actually create the edge. So if I hit edge, bam, there it is. There's my outline for the baseball design. And this looks like everything is pretty good in there. So it looks like the outline is exactly what we needed there. Of course, now you can go in and delete a couple of these stones in here that don't really fit in there too well. So you can go in there and get rid of those. Now, if you did want to change the stone size, we can go up here to our right-hand side here where we can change our stone size. So we can change it to 6s, 10s. We can do 16s or 20s. And the cool thing about it is, notice how you don't actually have to change the size of the vinyl here, because when you actually change the size of the rhinestones, it actually changes the spacing in between them, and it adds more stones. So say you're changing it to 6s, it added more stones to that particular design, but it still looks very clean and very nice. Whereas if I go to 20s, it's going to get rid of some of the stones, but it still flows very nice. You can tell the spacing is very, very nice in there. So it didn't actually change the size of the design or anything like that. It just added or released or got rid of some stones in order to make that design look better with that particular stone size. And you can also do the rhinestone spacing down here. So if you want to get more spacing in between each stone, let me go back to my 10s here. So notice how much spacing I get in between every stone here. We can actually decrease that. Just go left on our little toggle stick here, and notice how it gets less spacing in between each stone here to make that design look a lot cleaner, a lot nicer. All right. And then, of course, now we would just have to release our stones here. And notice how everyone's individual now. But just because you release a stone, you still have to do a release compound. So in order to do that, we have to select just the stones here. And the way to do that, down here at the bottom, I don't know if you guys noticed that you have this toolbar down here at the bottom. And basically what this allows you to do is select your stones. So let's just say you wanted to select just my red here. So I'm going to go here and hit my red, bam. And now only my red stones are selected here. And now I can go right click and I can do release compound. And that what allows me to do is select, see what happened here? Because I still had an outline around my baseball. So let me go ahead and get rid of that. So I'm just doing Control Z here. So notice around my baseball, I still have an outline. So we need to get rid of that before I do the release compound. Otherwise, what just happened is going to happen again. So I'm going to go back to my line fills here. So if I go to my line color, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on my the one right here where it almost looks like a fence here. I'm going to click on that, and that gets rid of my outline. So you guys see that? There's no outline anymore. So now if I go ahead and go back to my Select by Color tool, I can just select my red. I'm going to right-click, hit, let's go ahead and get rid of that, and release compound. And now I can work with each individual stone. You see that? So now if I did want to go ahead and, let's go ahead here and zoom into this area right here. So if you did want to go ahead and delete each stone here, you can just go ahead and delete those. See that? So very easy to delete those after you release the compound. I do have some questions coming in. Does the designer know what sizes are, or do we have to set it up in the program at some place? Actually, it already knows. It's actually using 0.130 there, Bobby, so it comes set for that. So it comes with the 0.130. All right, Christine, what part did you need me to repeat? I know I go a little bit quick there, so what part did you need me to repeat for that? And I can go through this process again if you guys want to see real quick how to create that baseball design. All right, let's go ahead and do that. All right, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of my outline here. So we'll just have our baseball design ready. I highlight all my stones and I'm gonna get rid of those. All right, so I got my baseball design here. No problem at all, Christine. All right, so we have our baseball design here. So first thing we want to do is obviously create an offset for it. The offset is going to allow us to put the stones directly to that offset. So let's go again. Let's go to my offset tool at the top here. I'm going to go to offset, and it creates my offset for me. Now the reason I expanded the offset was to get rid of some of these shapes in the inside here, just so that when I place a stone, the design's going to look a lot cleaner. So that's what I want to do here, and the way to do that is with my offset distance key feature here. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag this to the right just a tad bit. All right, let's see. Maybe a little bit less than that. So this is where I start using my my arrows here, just to decrease the size of that. All right, and you can tell as I'm increasing the size, you can see the circle, or excuse me, those extra items in there, those extra objects in there are now gone, and this one we'll get rid of here momentarily. So it looks like we're good to go there. Let's go ahead and go to my Rhinestone window here, and I'm going to go ahead and do edge. So the edge is going to add those stones around it. You see that? And notice how if I increase the size or decrease the size of my stones, it's still the same stone size. The only thing that's changing when I increase the size of it is the amount of stones in the design. So if I increase it, notice how it keeps adding stones to this particular design here, because I have not released a compound or I have not released a rhinestone, so I'm still able to manipulate this part of the rhinestone design, and that is going to allow you to, again, make that design bigger, smaller, just by changing the size. And again, it's just going to add stones to it, so that stone size is not changing. Those are still SS10s there that we're working with. No problem, Christine. Glad I could help there. All right. Does anybody else have any questions in regards to that? Okay, perfect. Awesome. So that is the edge fill for the rhinestones. Obviously, you still have your linear and radial fills. Christine, the releasing compound allows me to go in there and move each individual stone. So let's go ahead and use our. So I can show you here how to do the linear fill here. So the linear fill basically just fills that design in. So very nice boxy fill in. And notice how they're going to be more of lines, whereas my radial fill is going to be more of like using our island fill in the Stone Wizard, where it's basically just going to create some islands and fill that design based on the shape. So notice how she goes, kind of takes the shape of the design and keeps duplicating until it reaches the middle here, whereas the linear just basically just adds lines of stones, so rows of stones to that design. So if you were to create if you were to use a linear fill on a circle design, so if you were to use a linear fill here, watch how incomplete the design comes out like this. So if I click on my circle here, and then I go linear fill, bam, see how nasty that looks? Not exactly the finish we want from that design. What we want to go in that case is the radial fill, because it takes the shape of that design and creates it for you. And same thing goes with the radial fill. So if I go here and try to create a radial fill here, again, it's kind of sloppy. You can tell it's kind of up and down, where this is much cleaner, because it tried to take the shape of the square and just created boxes until it reached the middle. So you can tell right here in the middle is not as clean as we wanted it to be. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, let me show Christine here why we do the release compound. All right. So right now, notice how if I click on my design here on my stones, yeah, it's stoned out, perfect. But if I did want to edit this design right now, I couldn't. I couldn't go in there and change each individual circle. So in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and right click. And I'm going to go ahead and do my release rhinestones here. So that's going to release them all. So notice how they're all individual now. And the reason why you know that you got to do the release compound is because right now if I click on this design, notice it doesn't give me a size of that stone. So let me go ahead and highlight my design. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go ahead and highlight my design, right click, and I'm going to do release compound here. And there we go. So now if I click on each circle, it's my 0.130, exactly what we're looking for. And now if I zoom in, so let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. So now what that allows me to do is actually move each individual circle. So now I can go in here and move these around. So if this one you didn't like the way this was, you can delete that one. And there you go. So that's what the release compound is going to do for you. It's going to allow you to release those stones and work with each one individually. Does that make sense there, Christine? Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, so let me go ahead and bring a design in here. And show you the trace feature, which is another very cool feature. And I actually really like the way it traces our designs here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in this diamond. So this is a pre-made diamond we created here, a vector image, and I just created it into a PNG file so I can trace it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my trace tool up here. So I got my trace area, my trace window here. And notice the only thing you'll notice when you have your design highlighted is select trace area. That's basically just asking you to create a box around the design that you want to actually trace, so the Designer Edition software knows where to focus on the tracing process. So let's go ahead and create that box around my design here. Christine, PNG. Oh, I just dragged that from my workspace. Excuse me, from my desktop. That was just a design I had in my desktop, and I just dragged it in. So great thing about the Designer Edition software, notice how I can just bring it in here. I can just move it in. I didn't even copy and paste or anything. I just dragged it in from my desktop right into my Designer Edition software. All right. So this is what you'll notice once you actually bring your PNG file in and then try to trace it. So right now, it's giving me cut lines, but you can tell these cut lines, which is the yellow lines around my design, are still very sloppy. So those that's kind of, we want to clean that up. So when we send it to our cutter, it's going to cut out a lot cleaner, a lot nicer. It's also going to make the weeding process much less stressful. So, Christine, oh, I'm sorry. So you can use any PNG? Yeah, I mean, you can bring in a PNG file, Christine. The only difference is some are going to be, obviously the PNG files that have better quality are going to be traced a lot nicer. So you can bring any PNG file in and try to trace it. Not all are going to trace as nicely, though. That depends on the actual quality of the picture. Well, SVG, Christine, the SVG file is actually, that would be already the vector file. So if you bring in, so let's just say I created a design in CorelDRAW, Rhinestone design in CorelDRAW, and it was ready to go, it was ready to cut, but you needed to cut it with the Designer Edition. In that case, I would export my file from CorelDRAW into an SVG file, and that's what's going to allow me to bring it into my Designer Edition software. But yeah, with Designer Edition, you can actually copy and paste an image into the Designer Edition, or you can actually, if you have an image already in your desktop, you can drag it in there. So it actually lets you to bring in those PNG files for you to be able to trace and work with the vector image part of that file. And of course, we never recommend copyrighted designs, so never recommend going on Google and bring in an image from Google that's obviously, they're going to chase you down and get you for copyright or trademark infractions there. So make sure whatever design you're creating, it's completely yours. Stay away from the copyright. It's something you don't want to deal with. All right, so back to our tracing tool. So now we want to do is actually clean up this image here so we can trace it a little bit better. And that way the trace lines are much cleaner for us. So here what we have is different methods of tracing. So I'm going to show you those real quick here before we do anything else. So let's go ahead and show you the trace. So the trace is basically just going to create a trace. So notice right now, because I didn't clean it up, it's very rough. But notice how it actually traced around my outer lines here, so it actually created an outline of it. So that's what my trace feature does. If I go to my trace outer edge, it's just basically going to do kind of a similar thing right now because I haven't cleaned up that design, but you'll see the difference when I do it here momentarily. And then you got to trace and detach again. Let's go here. And notice not much there when you click it. It looks like it's slowing down here. So when you actually click it, notice how it actually moved. See when I actually move it out of the way, have all my different objects there. Again, similar tracing feature there, but because it's not cleaned up yet, it's just not going to look as good as I want it to look. So let's go ahead and go in there. And notice also it actually takes away from the original image there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go back to my original. There we go. So it looks like, okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and clean this design up so that the actual trace comes a lot cleaner, right? So let's go ahead and go to and one thing I always like to work with is my high pass filter here. And if you notice, you'll see some of the videos, that's what I use mostly is my high pass filter here. And all I'm going to do is just drag it to the right until I see just consistent yellow lines. So look how much cleaner those are, much straighter, perfect. So now I can go ahead and do my trace and watch how much cleaner this is than previously. See that? So now that's exactly what we wanted there. So it's a very clean cut lines. So now I can go ahead and send this to my cutter and be confident that's going to cut out nicely, and my weeding is going to be a lot easier too. All right. So if I actually, so let's go back a couple here. All right. So if I want to do the trace and outer edge, same thing. I'm going to drag it out, but look how much nicer that trace outer edge is now because it's not all the bells and whistles that were there before. And same thing with the trace and detach. But again, I usually mostly use the trace here, the top trace. The trace outer is if you just want to trace outside of a shape, maybe of like a, if you want to create a silhouette of a person, you might want to just do the trace outer edge there. That way you have a full silhouette that you can color in one color and then cut it with your silhouette cameo. So let's go ahead and go back to my trace. And now let's go ahead and get rid of that. So now what we have here is a vector file. So if I send this to my cutter, it's going to read those lines there and it's going to be able to cut out this whole design. So now we did have yesterday I believe it was, or 2 days ago, we had a question on how to fill in those areas in here. So right now if you notice I'm clicking in the middle of these and you can tell it's not an object yet. So these triangles right here are not objects yet. So what I want to do is actually create those where I can do a two-color design with this one outline. No problem at all. So let's go ahead and do that. So first thing I want to do is let me go ahead and make this red. So I'm going to go ahead and make this design red. So again, notice how the inside are not filled. So these are not objects yet. But watch what happens if I right-click and release compound. Bam. So now what happens is those are all objects now. So notice how I have all these different boxes here. So I got a box there, box there. That tells me those are all different objects. Bam, bam, bam. So right now it doesn't seem like much, but if I did move the triangle or the diamond, notice how I have my diamonds on the back here. So red, red. What we want to do in this case is let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and click on the outline of my outside design here, and I'm just going to go ahead and make that blue. Bam. So now what I have is a two-color design ready to send to your cutter. So again, this is a vector file. So there you go. You have your diamond with two colors, and I'm going to highlight. You can go to your cut settings here, and again, go to advanced, and if you go, you can go by fill color, and it's going to select the red, or it's going to select the blue. Whichever one you want to actually cut is the one that you're going to be selecting. So that's how you would go ahead and cut out the two-color design here. Very quick, very easy, again, by using the layers that the Design Edition offers there. Does anybody have any questions in regards to this design here and how we did this, the tracing feature at all? Okay, perfect. Awesome, awesome. And of course, if you did want to do something, you want to get creative, you can add a border to this and add an outline of rhinestones as well if you like. So you can actually do an offset here, and then if you like, you can go ahead here and rhinestones, and then add stones to the outside. So now you have a very cool two-color design here. So you have, a multi-deck design here with vinyl and rhinestones, and it just adds a nice little oomph to the design, much more, just a little bit bling. So now again, it's just upcharging that design. So now you're able to go ahead and sell this design for an extra $5, $10 because it has rhinestones and it has vinyl. So obviously, in your case, it took no time at all to create, but the customer doesn't know that. They don't see that. What they see is a beautiful finished design, a beautiful different finished product that they're willing to pay the extra amount of money because you made it unique to their taste, to their style, to their needs. So very cool way to actually customize these designs, and very quick to trace and outline, and also place stones in a design. So anybody have any questions on how to add the outline of stones to this design like this? Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Beautiful. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. All right, and also we have, now have you guys seen a lot of those punch-out designs, a lot of those new punch-out designs that we've been creating where you basically have the wording in the middle, excuse me, the wording on the outside, and then in the middle you have like a mascot, or you have a silhouette of a player, whatever you want to put in the middle there. Basically those are used with our modifying tabs here. So it's very simple. You got your weld, intersect, subtract, crop, subtract all, divide, and notice if I actually go here, let's go ahead and create a box, and if I go ahead and create another one here, what happens is, let me go ahead and change the color. I'll change the color to this one. So now what I have is I have two different objects here, and I'm going to highlight, and now what happens is I have all my features kind of pop up here. So if I do a weld, notice what that does is just welds them together, so there's just one object now. So it just welded them together. So that just creates a one object there. All right, so if I go highlight, intersect, bam, the rest of the design is gone. It only intersected and only left me this part of the design. Subtract, same thing, but it's going to do the opposite of intersect. So instead of actually taking off this part of the design, it actually took off excuse me, if it, instead of taking off the major part of the design here, it took off just this little area on the bottom there. So intersect and subtract, just the opposites of each other. And then we have crop. And same thing, there you go, so it cropped it together. So basically the ones that you have highlighted first is going to crop, and then you have subtract all. So if you subtract all, you release that bottom layer. There it is. So now what you have is an opening at the bottom. You just subtracted that area from the top design there. And then we finally have divide. So divide again, very similar to that. And if I had a 3-shape design, it would work a little better. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of that. All right, and also another one that we have here is, so that's our modify window there. Another useful one, especially if you're working with, if you're working with vinyl, if you create multicolor designs, say if you're creating a 2-color letter or word, then you would use that modify window to use those different options in there to be able to intersect or crop the inside of it out. So all you have left is the outline. And that way you can actually do the magic trap working with Designer Edition as well with those modified features there. And we do have some webinars and we do have videos showing that magic trap process with the Designer Edition software. So it makes it very cool, very easy for you guys to watch that video and understand the process. It's a little bit more of a process with the Designer Edition, but it can be done. So very cool way to do those. Christine, yeah, and like I said, yeah, we have a video and we have a webinar already on how to do that. So if you shoot us an email after the webinar, I'll be more than happy to send you the link to that particular YouTube video, all right? All right, and also we have down here, we have all our different big features here. So we have a replicate window. So again, just going to replicate it. So let me go ahead and draw a design here. Let's go ahead and fill this in. And let's go back to my replicate. So if I wanted to go ahead and replicate this to the left, just go ahead and click left. You can do the same to the right. So let's get rid of that one. You can do the same above, or you can go down. So just duplicate that one. You can mirror it. So a lot of people don't realize that they do have mirror options here in the Designer Edition. We always get calls and we always get emails asking how to duplicate or how to mirror it. And all they have to do is just go to this replicate window up here, and that's going to give you all the different options. So if you want to mirror it to the left, same thing, just mirror it to the left. If you want to mirror it above, same thing. Basically, the replicate and mirror are very similar features there. Also, we have our rotate, so you can rotate the 2 copies, rotate 3. So if you want to create a cool, so let's just say you have a round shape here, kind of creates a cool looking effect design for you there. And then if you went ahead and see that you can actually move each individual one, or you can group it or weld it all together to have one awesome looking design there. So again, just different kind of options that the replicate window gives you there to make the design really look cool and kind of do different effects to that design just to get creative. I mean, obviously the customers are paying the extra money for the creativeness, for the customization of these designs. That's why they're willing to pay the extra amount. They're not going to, they're not going to a sports store or Dick's and just purchasing a normal Nike shirt with a hashtag on it. No, they're getting something unique to their taste, what they ordered, and then that's why they're willing to pay the extra amount of money for that particular design. Now, does anybody have any questions? I just noticed it's 4 o'clock, so it looks like we're running out of time here, but I do want to answer as many questions as I can before I get out of here. So does anybody have any questions at all? Awesome, awesome. Now I know it was kind of a lot of different features that the Designer Edition offers, and hopefully we're going to start doing a lot more webinars and a lot more videos with the Designer Edition. We do see a very high demand for them, so we definitely want to start doing a lot more. So we do, if you guys can send us some suggestions, some video suggestions, webinar suggestions, we'll be more than happy. Either just Bobby says, stay with us for another hour and show it all again. Hey, we can do that next week, Bobby. Why not? I mean, I can set up another Designer Edition webinar for next week. No problem at all for you guys. All right? Awesome. Now we do, we also do the webinars where we do the full in-live training where you guys can watch Matt basically go in and kind of show you the whole process of creating a design, cutting it out, weeding it, pressing it. And we do have webinars already created like that you guys can actually go in and watch. We do have several ones using the Designer Edition software. So if you guys want to get a little bit more accustomed to the actual cutting process or the settings, we have several videos that will take you through that depending on what you're trying to cut out. So we have videos for the FTC sign vinyl. We have the videos for all of the Designer Edition software, all the different settings for sticky flock, so the obviously Siser vinyl, the glitter, Easyweed. So a lot of different videos that are out there for the Designer Edition, but like I said, there's not enough. We're gonna make a lot more for you guys and make this as easy as possible. And hopefully in a year or half a year, you guys are gonna be coming back to us and upgrading to the bigger, better cutters such as the Graphtec or Roland's. And obviously that's the ultimate goal here is increasing the business, your business, to the next level, and taking as far as we can with you guys. So again, I do appreciate everybody tuning in today, and joining me for this webinar. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of it. Thank you, Doc Brown, on the other hand over there. He is helping out with the questions. There was a lot of questions coming in throughout the webinar. Obviously, I can't keep up with all of them and answer all of them, so I do appreciate Doc answering all those questions. Oh, awesome, Susanna. Susanna said she liked about the high-pass filter. Yeah, the high-pass filter, I mean, obviously when working with the tracing, not always when your first trace is going to come out perfect, so you do have to do some adjusting to make that trace look a lot nicer. But makes it very easy to once you got it traced out, then you can do, sky's the limit to what you can do next with that vector image. So that's, I mean, obviously, once you get that tracing feature down, you're able to do a lot more with the Designer Edition, a lot more customization with the Designer Edition. Shelby, of course, you guys are trying to get me in trouble here. Unfortunately, it's a free webinar. Normally, for the free webinars, we don't technically do the coupon codes. I know Matt did one earlier today for the Wizard for the 2.1 for the testers, but that was for those who attended the webinar. Unfortunately, I am not able to do the coupon. Well, technically, I could do it, but I probably wouldn't have a job at the end of the day. So that's not what we want here, obviously. So give us that one. All right, so if you guys wanted that one, it's going to be here. I can type it in for everybody. And that's obviously, I know most of you guys won't be able to use this coupon just because it is it's for an item on the website that can only be used with the with the Stone Wizard software. So if you do have Corel Draw and you are working with the Stone Wizard, I can definitely send you guys a code. Bobby, just shoot me an email and I'll be able to send you that code, all right? And that way you can practice with the 2.14. Anna, yes, this webinar is being recorded. So this will definitely be recorded and it will be on our YouTube channel, like I said, hopefully by next week, early next week. Our video tech, he is actually taking care of the warehouse right now. So I'm trying to do as much as I can with the videos rendering and everything, but he's a little bit better than I am. So I think I'll wait for him once he's done with the warehouse back there, see how much of the videos we can render today, and hopefully either have them up today or, like I said, worst case, early next week, we'll definitely have those up and posted. Bobby, don't worry. There's more webinars to come. Don't worry. This won't be the last one, that's for sure. All right. I missed the webinar earlier because of sick kiddos. I actually bought the file. Anyway, I could get it. Shelby, just shoot me an email. Do info at the Rhinestone World. Do attention, Rudy, and I'll take care of you. Don't worry. No problem, guys. Well, does anybody else have any questions today? Awesome, awesome. So again, it is Friday, guys. I do appreciate your time. I mean, it's later in the day. We kind of wanted to test out the timing and seeing, it was a great turnout. We had over 80 people here in the webinar. But I did want to test out and kind of see what times were better for you guys. And obviously, with the weekend right on the corner, I was kind of skeptical to see how it was going to turn out on a Friday afternoon. But it turned out great. Like I said, I did have a great turnout. Couldn't do it without the crew here. Hopefully, everybody had a great Thanksgiving as well with the family. Hopefully you didn't spend too much money for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I know I try to stay at work as much as I could so I can stay away from all the shopping. So that kind of helped out a little bit. But I do appreciate everybody joining me today. As always, thank Doc Brown on the other side here answering all the questions. My name is Rudy. I do appreciate everybody. I hope everybody has a safe and great weekend. If you do have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 941-755-1696. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great weekend.